Hello, friends. I grew up next to a farm boy named Mike who loved Christmas and loved the responsibility of chopping down the Christmas tree that would appear in his family's living room each Christmas. He would go out to the farmland around his house, the farm property that belonged to his family, and he would look for the perfect tree. And when he would finally find it, he would chop it down and drag it back to the house. And his friends in the neighborhood, me included, would often look at that tree outside the house and recognize that the tree was way too big to fit in his living room. And he would realize that too when he got it to the house, and he would start to chop and hack at it. And the next thing you know, he'd have some version of that tree in the living room. Usually he kept the bottom part instead of the top part, so he ended up with more of a Christmas tree bush than a Christmas tree in a traditional sense. But it was really a highlight of his life. And he would always say the same thing when his friends, when we would tease him about it, he would say, "Oh, it looks so much smaller in the woods." And he did this actually multiple years in a row. It got to be so traditional, we got a big kick out of it. It got me to thinking about mistakes. And sometimes we make big mistakes and we don't quite know what to do about them. And I can only speak for myself. I know that I have from time to time struggled with some mistake I made, not knowing how to manage the fallout from that mistake or what to do to correct it. And I wonder if that might be true for you, because if it is, I want to make a couple of suggestions. The first one is this: gather good and truthful information. Make sure the information you've got about this thing is the good and true information before you make your decision. It's possible that you've been misled, that you're not getting the true information, or you don't have good information. Just make sure, give yourself a chance to really discover what the truth is. If Mike had measured before he went into the woods, he could easily have solved this problem with good and true information. The second thing is, go to folks who can give you wise counsel. You know, a lot of times there's strength and good information among your friends who would be glad to help you make a decision if they're the kind of friends who will give you wise counsel. And, you know, if any one of us would have gone with Mike on his Christmas tree excursion, I bet you we would have come back with a tree that was more appropriately sized for his house than the one he usually brought. He wanted to go through this all by himself, and because he did, it sometimes ended up kind of poorly. That might be true in our lives too. You know, I have over the years many friends who have moved from being alcoholics to being recovering alcoholics, and one thing they have in common, they tell me, is that they have to break relationship with the people in their lives who are the drinkers, because it's really hard to quit drinking in the midst of drinkers who want you to drink. And what they have to do is move to a group of people who are not drinkers or not alcohol abusers, because it's so much easier to be with people who don't drink if you're trying not to drink. So get wise counsel, be with the right people, and then make your decisions. And maybe in that way we can avoid some big mistakes. And I hope that you find this useful as we go forward. I hope you haven't made too many big mistakes. I hope through this little bit of a tip that you might find a way to manage some of the fallout from those mistakes. Get your hands on the truth. Get wise counsel from people that love you. God bless. See you soon.